Hello and welcome to All Access Pass. I'm your host, Jason Venner, and today we have one of the biggest, most amazing, beautiful voices in the history of not only rock and roll, but music. Please welcome to the stage the fabulous Darlene Love. Oh, you're gorgeous, first and foremost. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for being here with us. I appreciate it. First, I want to say your show the other night, and I heard Jerry say this at the Q&A you had yesterday. Jerry mentioned that it is one thing to hear an artist and think, oh, I loved them then. You know, maybe they're a little bit more of a facsimile of the artist you remember. You are exactly as you've always sounded. You're absolutely stunning when you sing. What do you attribute it to? How do you keep your voice the way it is?
Well, you know, over the years, when Phil Spector, my first record producer that actually recorded me, he started recording me. He didn't want my voice to be that powerful, but he loved my voice. So what he would do after he would record me is speed the track up, and it made me sound younger. So I really people really don't know all the power I have until they see me in person.
In your show the other day, I think I said it, I was standing on the side, and this is a thing that we say in singing, and many of you have probably heard it. It's one thing to go to church. It's another thing to go to church.
Church.
You took him, yeah, exactly. You took him there. Is gospel, is that something you love to do, or do you?
I love singing gospel. It touches everybody's heart in one way or another. And I get to express myself. My father was a minister, and I have two brothers that are ministers. And if you have a father that's a minister, he's the pastor of the church. You, the choir, you, the Sunday school, you are everything.
You go to all of it.
Yes.
What age were you when you started singing?
Professionally, 16.
How about just period? When did you start?
Started around 8 or 9.
8 or 9. And what got you started?
And in church.
Church?
And my parents were Pentecostals, which meant no makeup. I don't know how they could let us do that to women. No makeup. We couldn't wear pants. We had to have our head covers all the time. So, and only music we could listen to in the house was gospel music or spiritual music or Broadway shows or things like that. So I got to hear all the dirty music at my girlfriend's house.
That dirty rock and roll and all the
yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you said you went professional at 16. What did you start with at 16? What genre?
Actually, with a girl group, the Blossoms. That's how I met the Blossoms.
Yeah.
And the
okay,
first,
clap.
thank
Like
you.
The Blossoms. You can clap. Don't be shy.
They were my big start in show business. And we did a session for Capitol Records, and our first person that we ever recorded with was Jimmy Dean.
Oh.
That was my first big session, and he was nervous, and so were we.
And you were 16 at the time?
Yes.
What was it like being in there with Jimmy?
It was amazing because I had no idea, never been in a recording studio before. And that was back in the days when they would record everything at the same time. Mm-hmm. The musicians, the background singers, the lead singer, all of that was done at the same time. So we were all on the same page.
Literally.
Literally yes.
All together. So you debut at 16. Walk us through the teenage and the young 20s there.
Well, by my father being a Pentecostal preacher, and we were in an organization called Churches of Our Lord Jesus Christ, they could make the minister travel. Even if they had 5 children, they could make them travel to places. And so we went to Texas.
So you were one of 5?
I was one of 5. I have 3 brothers and a sister. And we went to Texas in the early 50s. And my father had a church there. And you know, you don't think 35 is old until you get 35. My father was 35 years old when we left to go to Texas. And when I started going to school in Texas, it was segregated, which I didn't know about segregation yet, because I lived in California. We had white teachers, we had white students that we went to school with. In Texas, it was all black teachers, black children. And that was very strange to me, because I used to go, where's everybody? this is everybody.
This is it right here.
Yeah, and so I started singing in what they call glee clubs, a cappella choir, and when the conductor of the different organizations, a glee club or a cappella, found out how strong and powerful my voice was, I started getting pulled out to do solo songs. And that's actually the first time I really knew I could really sing, because nobody had really taught me anything yet.
So you had no formal training at that point in time.
Right.
At that point in time.
Right.
And did you progress then into formal training, or did you progress right into just more and more singing and learning
just
the craft?
more and more singing, and started listening to more and more music at that time, because at that age we really weren't listening to a lot of music for listening to the sounds of the music, listening to the music, how it was, the guitar, the piano, the drums. It just all sounded great. And so we would sing.
We couldn't break it down per se.
No,
yeah.
but what I would do though all the time, I would sing. My voice is an alto voice, and no matter what I sang the alto parts, and it was always the background. Somebody said before, we sang the hook. That's what everybody sings. And so my husband one day in church about 10 years ago said, "Do you realize you sang the alto part?" I said, "Yes." You think I don't? You think I don't realize I'm singing the alto part? But I've always sung just that part.
And, okay, so you start singing more and more. Who is it that's inspiring you at this point in your life? Who are you listening to that you're like, ooh, I want to be like him or her, or what?
I wanted to sing like Marian Anderson. I loved the way she stood on the stage. I could see what difficulties she had to go through. That taught me right then and there, if you want to be in this business, you're going to have to go through hard times. Which, it still didn't feel like hard times, because you're singing, you're having fun, and you figure everybody's enjoying it, I was listening to Sam Cooke back then, because he was a gospel singer in a group called the Soul Stirrers. And so I knew about all those groups. There were gospel groups called the Davis Sisters, the Caravans, and all of those people. And they were always in town somewhere. So we had all their records. So we'd listen to them, and I would go with them.
Sure. And at what point did you start taking formal lessons and not just singing?
No, I never took lessons. Never took lessons. I remember, I tell my mother and father, I did tell them one time, I could beat y'all. I wish y'all would have made me take piano lessons. We found out over the years that great piano players, their parents made them practice, because you didn't really want to practice. You wanted to go outside and play with the kids, especially in the summer times. And twice a week you had to go for an hour to take piano lessons. And the more we said we didn't want to do it, our parents gave up and said, okay, well, all right, don't leave it alone. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But then a lot of my friends who are professional piano players said their parents made them do it. Once they made up their mind that's what they wanted to do, then they had to make them do it. And our parents didn't. I don't fault them, but they could have made me take those lessons.
It could have made you far more miserable than you were. I mean,
right.
They could have gotten in the game. Little Anthony said something on All Access Pass earlier in the week. He said, there's a lot of talent out there, but there's a big difference between talent and passion. And, just because you have the talent, if you don't have the passion, you'll never take it to that next step. And though it seems kind of as a simple statement, I got to thinking about it, and it kind of took me back. It took me aback, I should say. Tell me about the passion at that age to really start. I mean, once you realize this is what you want to do, it's not just you just show up and do it. I mean,
No, it's a whole lot of getting ready. I tell people, even today, I think it's even more, because once I get up in the morning, and if it's 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, that's when my day starts. I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do that night on the stage, how I have to prepare myself. I don't do a lot of talking, so I'm going over words in my head, and then you take the song and you make that song yours, no matter who recorded it, even if it's not your song. And the passion and the love and getting that over to your audience, it's so powerful, because I've seen so many great entertainers get on stage and they can't entertain. They're just singing. And guess what? The audience knows that too. They know, oh, that's a great song to have a great voice, but I don't feel nothing. You know, and you really do have to. A gentleman came up to me one time. I used to sing with my eyes closed all the time. He said, "Why don't you open your eyes and let us in on what you're thinking?"
What a great line.
And that's been over 30 years ago, and I never forgot that.
And your eyes have been open ever
They
since.
have been
so to
open
speak.
ever since. And the only reason a lot of entertainers close their eyes because they don't want to see you guys' faces. They don't want to read your faces like, do they like this? Do they like me? What are they doing? And you see one another talking, and while they're talking, and I'm up here trying to sing, you know. So a lot of people, what is
It's a
great
distraction.
now, it is a distraction, but with the lights, you can't see any more than the first 2 or 3 rows, so that helps.
Yes. That's a perfect chance to take a quick break. Don't go away. More with Darlene Love when we come right back. Welcome back. Here we are once again with the fabulous Darlene Love.
Thank you.
So we were talking a little bit about passion before we went into the break and what it takes to translate your music and the song to your guests, and whether it's keeping your eyes open so they can be in on what you're thinking, or just all the hours it takes to perfect your craft. You've been a professional now for a few years. Let's just say. You said you started at 16, so you've been at least 10 years in the business. At least 10 years in the business. What does it take now? Is it easier to go out and do what you do? And I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. Is it easier because you've done it so many times, or is it harder because you've done it so many times?
No, it's not easier. It's just as hard, and it might even be harder, especially if you put a brand new show together. Sure. It was funny, Stephen Van Zandt just finished recording me on my latest album that I haven't recorded in over 30 years. And I said, oh my God, I gotta learn 14 songs.
When's the last time you learned 14 songs? 30 years ago.
I can't even remember, probably that long ago. But when you're younger, it comes to you faster. You know, as you get older, it is harder to concentrate. You know, they put me in a room. My husband goes somewhere, and I go up to my bedroom, and I stay in there for hours. And when I come out, he thinks I have it.
That's faith. That's faith from your husband.
No, maybe I can learn one song in that whole time, because you have to learn how to get past that one, even if you haven't learned the whole song, and to get to the next one. And what we do, we keep the album in every car. Every car we have, and that's the only music we listen to. My husband knows it better than I do, because I think he's not really concentrating on having to perform it.
Sure.
And that's the big difference. Like someone else said, you know how to sing this. I say, yeah, I've heard it a million times, but I've never performed it. So I don't really know that song. So it does get harder as you get older.
And I think you actually brought it back up. You touched on something when you said that some people are great singers, but they're not great performers. And I think we have other people that many of us could probably identify, know that are great performers, that may not be the best singers.
Right.
It's an interesting balance. How did you find the balance going forward? You know, you're such a big voice. Because you were a big voice, did you ever kind of want to rely just on that, or were you always pushing for the performance aspect of what you do?
No, you know, starting out as a backup singer, it gives you a lot of inspiration. You get to see from the eyes of the background singer, you get to see everything. And like I told somebody the other day, and working with Tom Jones for 2 years, I have a lot of stories that I cannot tell. But it's great, you know what, because singing background, you want to help that performer. That's what you're there for, to give that performer the backbone that they need. If they're tired or if they cough, you know, and they turn the mic away and you can't hear them, we're right there,
sure,
you know, singing with them. So I enjoy doing that, and it does help humble you, you know, and you learn. I was talking to little Anthony the other day, said, yeah, honey, I watch people and I steal the good things that they do, which is true. We're all in this business. We all do the same thing. We're all dancers, we're singers, we're performers. And our whole idea is to get our audience to love what we're doing. Okay, so they like Darlene Love, but will they like me after the performance that I do? And that's the most important thing that we do. We have to get the audience to enjoy what we're doing.
I had a fabulous conversation with Mr. Chubby Checker very recently on All Access, and I had the exact same conversation with Mr. Neil Sedaka. And we were talking about the fact that I mentioned that now as an extremely amateur performer, as in a host and being on stage, I come off stage all the time, and I beat myself up. You know, why did I stutter on the third word, and what was I doing, and why didn't I focus on the camera when I need to look at the camera, and my mic was in the way.
See?
You beat yourself up over stuff.
Yes.
But what I was fascinated about, and what I never considered, is that someone of your stature and status, someone of Neil's and Chubby's, would actually have similar, I hesitate to use the word insecurities, but that you walk off and you go, did they like me? Did I kill that? Did I fall flat? It never goes away.
No, it's always, if you're a good entertainer and if you love what you're doing, you're going to come off. There isn't a time when you don't come off and say, hey man, I nailed it. That was great. You know, there's something that you did more. Just like you said, a camera or the microphone, or why did I go over there on that verse? Why did I move? Why didn't I just stay there? You know, and a good thing, if somebody's taping us and we can see the whole show, oh my God, did I really do that? But you can see all your mistakes that I see, that I think that are our mistakes.
You know, for instance, like when the ship starts rocking and you got to kick your heels off.
Oh,
Sometimes things happen.
I took mine off. I went over to the side and said, hold on a minute, I am not falling. I went over and took my shoes off. Yes.
I don't know how many of our live studio audience were in that show, but I thought that was a great live moment on TV. That was a great moment. It was a great real moment.
Yeah, it's the truth.
It's the truth. It is the truth. You know, you kind of made a comment a second ago that TV is never what you think it is. I think the fame and glamour of a lot of it isn't initially what people think it is. There's a lot of work and effort and variables and things that happen that create the relationships and the final product. We were talking just off stage a moment ago, and though the people join this cruise to see you perform, of course, a lot of times it's the small personal moments that make a bigger impression, I feel like, on all of us from you, from you and the other stars, of course, that leave that memory.
Yes.
You know, you've performed a lot of concerts, but you were on when, you know, the ship was rocking so hard, Darlene kicked those shoes off and belted out. You know, you were on stage when yesterday you did a Q&A and Sonny Turner was coming up to shake your hand, and you know the coasters were in the back just wanting to meet you and ask if they could work with you, and those are those personal moments that mean a lot, I think.
Yeah, because you know we don't get to meet, me and Chubby were talking, we don't get to meet our friends, our entertainment friends, because everybody is passing ships in the dark. You're going over here and I'm going over there. But what's great about the ship, you do get to kind of see one another and spend a little time with one another, which is really, really, really great, because I remember Chubby when he came on Shindig and he did the television show with us. The Blossoms were one of the main acts that stayed on the show the whole time. So that was the time we got to meet a lot of the entertainers, which is really great. You see their good side and you see their bad side. And I understand about the bad side, because a lot of times you just don't feel good. It's not your day, you know, whatever. And I noticed that. I was telling somebody other day about smoking cigarettes. I smoked for 25 years.
Wow.
But I stopped over 25 years ago. And I know how hard it is to stop. So I don't put people down that smoke. I try to be compassionate with them. I said, just keep hanging in there. If you want to stop, you will eventually stop. But it's like everything else. I enjoy what I do, and I want to do it for the rest of my life.
I think we want you to do it for the rest of your life. That's actually a perfect segue. You were just kind of mentioning your work with Mr. Van Zandt and the new album. Tell us a little bit about the new album.
This album has been getting ready to record for over 35 years.
Beg my pardon, but what took so long? Like, how does a record go?
That's what everybody says. I met Stephen in 1961 in California, and I was working in a club. And I didn't know Stevie and Bruce Springsteen were in the audience. And I sung one of Bruce's songs, Hungry Heart. You don't get to see everybody sing one of Bruce's songs. And plus, if I'd have known he was there, I probably would not have sung it. Anyway, after the show was over, they came backstage and they were talking to me. And Stevie said, you need to come to New York. I said, well, I've never been. That was during the time as a solo artist. I'd never been to New York to work. I said, I don't know nobody. Get somebody to hire me. I'll come. He said, if I get you some jobs, you'll come? He said, yes. He said, and I want to record you, because my recording days with Phil Spector were over, and we hadn't found anybody else that really wanted to take a chance on recording me, because they think everybody over 30 can't sing no more, and nobody wants to buy their records. I said, well, what do you think everybody over 30 is doing?
The real entertainers.
Yes, yes. So he promised me we were going to get in the studio and record. Well, he did find me 2 jobs, and I moved to New York City. I didn't mean to move there, but I did.
What do you mean you didn't mean to move there?
Well, because I don't like New York. And I've worked there off and on for 30 years, working for Dionne Warwick, Tom Jones, you know. And I just didn't figure being a girl from California I could ever really deal with New York. And I found a lot of friends, and I started working at a club called The Bottom Line in New York. You guys, somebody saw me there? Well, all right, y'all get around too.
I've seen you everywhere then. Of course you have.
Well, I did move there, and Stevie kept saying that he was going to record me, we were going to do it, and he said, okay, but then his life changed. Him and Bruce separated for a little while, then they got back together, and then he started doing the television show, and to make a long story short, it did take about 35 years. 2 years ago at BB King's, he came to the show and he said, I'm taking you guys into the studio. He said, what are you guys doing tomorrow? We said, well, we're off. He said, no, you're not. We're going into the studio.
The next day.
Because it's never going to be the right time. Let's do it now. And it just happens. And we stayed friends all this time.
Sure.
Everybody doing what they're doing. I went on Broadway, I did movies, and he followed me, except for Broadway, but he did go into movies. And finally he did. And I think he recorded one of the greatest albums with me, if I have to say so myself, because of all the technical problems he used. All the music is live. There's no synthesizers. Thank you. So what's that word?
Synthesizers.
Synthesizer. Thank you. Everything is live. Real pianos, real horns, real strings. So I love it. I think it's the best work I've done.
That's a huge statement. And we're going to dig more into that in just a moment. Do not turn the channel. We've got a little bit more with Darlene Love, so come back soon. Welcome back to All Access Pass, and here we are once again with the fabulous Darlene Love. So we were just discussing your record, obviously, that is finally out after 30 years of creation, let's say.
Right.
Tell us a little bit, I know you had a big talk about it yesterday, but tell us a little bit about 20 Feet from Stardom and kind of what that did for those that maybe even didn't know you, and how it kind of relaunched you back into a more current spotlight, maybe?
It really did. It did help me. You know, people saw me every year on the David Letterman show, so that really did help. But with 20 Feet from Stardom, it went so many other places where maybe the David Letterman show didn't go. And then for it to turn around and win the Academy Award for the best documentary, that was a feather in our hats.
Oh.
And then it won a Grammy.
And then a Grammy, I know. And there was a lot of documentaries out that year.
Yeah, and there were some great ones, so we kept saying, okay, Lord, are we gonna get this one? And you know, I said I wasn't gonna sit up and listen to you know how they make the announcement of who's in. I'm not gonna listen. And about 5 o'clock, I woke up. And they were making the announcement.
There it was.
And they said us last, so I was really on pins and
needles. So you sat there until they said it.
Yeah.
What's the feeling? What's the emotion when it wins?
Actually, it's as they say, out of body experience. Especially when they told me the day before that they wanted me to go on stage and receive it, and I just went really like, they have lost their minds. You know, what am I going to do? I'm not prepared. So whenever something hard comes about that I have to do, I figure I can only find one help for me. And I just bowed my head and said, okay, Lord, give me a song. And the song that I actually sung, His Eyes on the Sparrow, is the song that he gave me. And it made me so nervous because you know, people take, you're singing, you're gonna do this in front of 60 million people. That's when you start really getting nervous.
Yes.
And once I started singing, I heard this mumble like, so I really closed my eyes. Right. You know, I think they were just all so surprised that I decided to sing a song rather than talking. And then after it was over, and when they gave me a standing ovation, I just like, you know, in reality, I would have fell down on my face and just said, thank you.
And scene, right there.
Yes. So it was very exciting.
Well, I know you've watched the show a couple times. You said you've watched a little All Access Pass, and you know I like to open things up to the audience. We have a couple of questions from the audience, if you would be so kind. Question number one we have for you, as our questions. How would you inspire your grandchildren to become a singer or a person in show business, and would you?
No. My children are great singers, but they've been with me. My oldest is 54, and then I have a 51 and I have a 41. And they've been with me, usually they're old enough to have been around me with all this music. They say, Mom, you got this. This stuff is deep. They have beautiful voices, but one actually is my security, and the other one is my driver. So they're with me all the time.
Put those boys to work.
Yes, sir.
Get those boys to work. Next question this is from Brenda from Canada, and Brenda would like to know if you would be so kind as to tell us about the day you met the boy you were going to marry, ... your handsome husband, Alton.
Yes, you would not believe I met my husband 32 years ago. We've been married 31 years on Carnival Cruise Line. He was the chief steward on board, and I was the entertainer. And I loved it because he wouldn't pay any attention to me. And I was like, everybody else is trying to get this. What's wrong with him?
Everybody else.
But he was very quiet and very shy, and he worked late at night. So we would walk the deck. We'd stay outside and watch the moon come up and watch the sun come up. So we did a lot of things like that. And as you know, back in those days, Carnival had 4 ships. Yeah. So they wanted to share me with all their ships because no one had ever seen anybody like me on a ship. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, the owner asked me one day, why are you working on a ship? I said, because I need the money. Wherever I can go, where I can go and sing. And I think I kind of started something because people that was in the 60s, they didn't do ships. Sure. And I started doing them. And by the time I left that ship, I was making so money, they wouldn't even tell them how much money I was making. So it was a good thing for me. I needed it, and they needed me.
And then you met your handsome husband who needed you.
And we're still here. He's still here.
And he's still here. So you have one son that is your driver, one son that is your security, so your husband just does the laundry? Is that what, the cooking?
That's about it.
That's about right, yeah.
We can use him to do the dishes.
He's got to do something. Keep him busy.
I'm letting him do all the work I don't want to do. He has to talk to people. He has to do the business part.
Got it.
So that's fine with me.
Keep him going.
Yes.
Terry would like to know, who are your favorite singers from your era?
My era?
Yeah, who are your favorite singers from your era?
Aretha Franklin, Barbara Streisand, Sam Cooke.
Sam Cooke.
One of them, I just adore him. I adore his voice. And Dion, I don't count her because I feel she's like my sister, but I've been so blessed to be able to work with these people and get to know them. Mm-hmm. And Barbara Streisand I've never met, but I've always wanted to sing with her. So maybe one day.
Does she know that?
I don't think so.
I bet she does now. We are syndicated worldwide. I bet you didn't know that here on All Access. We're going to take that exact same question. We're going to flip it slightly. What about today's singers? There's some talent out there.
Today's singers. Well, I love what's her name? The country and western singer that won the television show. I love Taylor Swift. Is not her though.
There's Carrie Underwood.
Carrie Underwood. Oh my God, I love that woman.
I just got that from my wife off camera for the record.
Thank you. Thank you, wife. They help out. My husband does that too.
Brittany's perfect for it.
I love her. I'm so excited about her. I think it's new blood that's coming in, for the kids. Mm-hmm. It's not all rap. It's not all just whatever, but it's good singing, it's good music, it's good words, good lyrics, and I just adore her. I think she'll be around for a long time.
Outside of Carrie Underwood, if you could collaborate with someone today, who would you collaborate
It would be her.
Outside of Carrie, you can't have Carrie.
All right,
I figured you'd go there. Can't have Carrie.
My husband always, I had to have Alton to this guy, I love him so much. Alton, what's his name? He's Spanish.
Bruno Mars?
Yes.
Bruno Mars.
I would love to sing with him.
I think everybody would love to sing with Bruno Mars, to be quite honest.
Because he has that same, the rock and roll feel, you know what I'm saying?
He
and he has a lot of energy, and I think I'd love to do something with him.
I heard your interview on Sirius Radio. You said 2 people influence you. Who are the 2 people?
Oh, wow. I hope
Or
I get
were you
this
just
right.
lying to Sirius Radio at the time?
What are you doing listening to Sirius Radio?
Hey, this was his question, not mine. I don't know.
Oh,
Her
that's
question.
somebody else's
Oh, Leslie.
question.
Excuse me, this is Leslie.
It was a girl?
Yes.
Hi, it's you?
It was a 2-hour interview.
2-hour
Yeah,
interview.
when
yeah.
I work with Cousin Brucey, it might be all day. I mean, I've been knowing him since I first went to New York. I think I said, did I say my school teacher? One of my school teachers? Oh, she never got the answer.
She didn't get that far, so you can say anybody and they'll believe you.
Okay, well, it was one lady that one of my school teachers. She was actually my typing school teacher's name, Mrs. Douglas, and she says, you know what, you need to really get out there and do it. So I watched her every day. She's one of those teachers that you have a lot of respect for, and the conductor of the a cappella choir. He was fabulous, and he's one of those people that conduct like you see symphony guys when they're conducting. That's how he conducted the choir. Yes,
Very powerful.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We've had this question a couple of times, and this is actually kind of a fun question, and every artist has a little fun with this. Out of all the songs you have, what is your least favorite? What song do you get that I don't want to sing that again?
That's so easy. Fine, super fine boy.
You're done with it.
And the reason why is because when I recorded it with Phil Spector, he kept making me say, he's a fine, super fine boy. I said, okay. So he kept saying, I said, do you want me to say it just like you just said it? I said, well, give me some gum. Because you're chewing gum and telling me how to say this. And we've never had any trouble with recording anything when I was recording with Phil. But this one is just like, we went on and on. The song was done with. But that was the beginning of the song. Sure. So he kept saying, that's wrong. I don't want you to say it like that. I want you to say, he's a fine, super fine boy. I just went, Phil, you know what? You're going to end up saying this. And it's because of how I think when I recorded it. Although I love it because the audience loves it.
But the process turned you off to it a little bit in the beginning.
Yes.
You've been incredibly forthcoming and incredibly kind, and I've loved having you on here with us, as I know our studio audience has as well. And for those of you watching, do me a favor to make sure you turn back in tomorrow. For everyone, big round of applause for the fabulous, the one, the only, Ms. Darlene Love.
Thank you, guys.